Good morning. It is August 17th, 2020. This is Monday Morning with Tanny. I always have this circle going around, and I'm always wondering if the circle means that nobody's here. It just says live now. So, anyway, welcome to Monday Morning with Tanny. It's August 17th, like I already said, 2020. Today we're going to talk more about the 12 dimensions of children's grief. We are going to do 4, 5, and 6 today. If you're here and watching, please drop me a line. Last week, I'm sorry, I missed all of Christmas comments. She was on watching and commenting and I couldn't see anything. So hopefully today it shows up. If I don't respond to you, I'm sorry. It's just because, I don't know, internet, Facebook, whatever is not working. So I'm Tanny Reed Walker. I am a counselor with FCSS in the Barons Eureka Warner area. I counsel primarily in Tabor and the MD of Tabor. I also do some Milk River and Warner and Coaldale. Because of the COVID-19 situation right now, I'm online, so I get to cover more of our service area, which in some aspects is nice because I get to have a more diverse population that I'm working with. These videos that I'm doing the Monday morning are based on grief loss due to death. However, you can grieve a lot of different things, and a lot of this stuff might explain or show up in other types of grief and transitions that people are going through. I have a little series going right now. It's about children and grief. And so let's get started. Last week I did the first 3. I don't have those at hand, but let's start off with this 3. So the dimension 4 is actually disorganization and panic. Dimension 5 is explosive emotions. And dimension 6 is acting out. So these all seem like really important topics to talk about. So, what is disorganization and panic? Well, it's when a child, or anyone, but we're talking about children right now, and that's like 0 to 18, have overwhelming thoughts and feelings. So they're just getting bombarded by so many feelings that they probably haven't experienced to this level before. And the thoughts are really often very negative and concerning, like, who's going to take care of me right now? If it was a primary caregiver that passed away, that concern is going to be very large. Will my family survive this? If somebody is missing in this system that has been supporting this child, and maybe it's a core person, like maybe grandma passed away and she was the one who kept all of the family together and kept the family gatherings and all of those things, the child might be like, is this going to work out? Sometimes if a sibling dies, they might wonder if the parents are going to be able to stay together because they're watching and seeing all of the deep emotions and grieving and mourning that is occurring. It's very big questions these children have. And then another one is, will they survive? Suddenly, like, death is a reality and they realize that human beings die. And that's painful, and they have to all of a sudden confront the fact that they could die. And that's a big thing for little ones to think about. It's a big thing for big people to think about. So we just really want to understand that when they suddenly become disorganized or panicked, that these are the things that are happening for them. They're thinking about this stuff. The other thing that happens is they both want memories, so they want to watch videos and hear their loved one's voice and see them, but on the other hand, it also hurts really bad. There's a lot of pain. They might not want to see them because it hurts. They know that they're not going to hear that voice again in person, and they're not going to smell them and hold them and all of the things that people do. So there's a conflicting situation going on, and anytime there's a confliction inside somebody, it's going to be obvious, and they're going to feel disorganized and panicked because it's a lot to take in. So during this time, a child may dream of the person who died, and listen to their dreams. Just listen to them. They're really important. They may appear restless or irritable. So they're going to be a little bit more cranky. They might want to be more distracting, might have more distractions. They might seem like they're bored. They just have all of these things coming into their brain and all of these big feelings, and they just don't know what to do with themselves. It makes them antsy. They may seem unable to concentrate. So don't be surprised if you put on a movie as a family together or something and they just can't concentrate on it. Or schoolwork, of course, is going to kind of fall apart a little bit. Maybe they won't want to practice piano the same because they just can't concentrate. We don't know what kind of memories and thoughts are coming into their little minds, and so it's really good to just be aware that concentration is hard. And there might be a disruption in sleep and eating behavior. So I know that all of us have experienced the COVID situation, and it's not quite the same as somebody dying, but it's a really big change. And I saw and have seen and talked to a lot of people that talked about their sleep habits changed, their eating habits have changed. I know that that's happened for me as well. So it's going to happen when your life is disrupted by a very significant death as well. Oh, I feel like I'm talking fast today. So, how to help? Isn't that interesting? I was talking about disorganization and panic, and I could feel it inside me, and I was talking fast. Oh, well, does that ever happen to you when you realize you're talking about something and you kind of feel it? Anyway, how to help that? How do we help? Understand that those feelings will ebb and flow throughout the months and sometimes even years. And so when your child is exhibiting disorganization and panic, they won't always realize that it's linking back to the death, but it might be something for you to be aware of, that it can be linked back to the death. So that loss is going to repeat itself. It's going to come up with different developmental stages, with different significant things that happen in life. There's going to be times of year where it comes up and there's a little bit more disorganization and panic. And so when that happens, you have the opportunity to go, oh, I know what could be happening here. And then you can help them express that. So that leads to number 2, which is they may have a real need to cry, talk, or play out their grief, depending on how old they are and kind of like what their nature is. So sometimes when I need to cry or I needed family to cry, I would find like a super sad movie. I think like there's lots of movies about animals dying. That seems to be a very big thing to help people cry. And it gives people an opportunity to cry in a contained setting, like a 2-hour movie or whatever that is, and it's at something else. So it's not directly poking at the wound of that loss. It's giving an opportunity to kind of cry through that. Talking about it, of course. I always advocate doing something kind of physical with people, taking a hike, just going for a little walk. Also going for drives can be really good. Some kids just need cuddles and they want to chat as they're going to sleep. So if you can tell they're disorganized and panic, you might want to start bedtime routine a little bit earlier and make the bedtime routine take a little bit longer with a little extra snuggles and a little extra story time and a little extra chatting. And of course, playing out grief is very important, especially for little ones. So take some time to get on the floor and play with them. And if you can't, you could find a play therapist. Super handy. But just that time is super important. Remember that disorientative grief precedes reorientation into life. So that disorientation needs to be played out, and it needs to be talked about so that our brains can reorganize things for the future. Repetitive play often tells a story. Over the years, I've had youth, especially, surprisingly, would come in and we would play. And we would play the exact same thing for months, like every session. And then one day they would just be like, okay, I'm done. And it's amazing. So if the story of whatever you're playing doesn't change, that's okay. You can look at underlying themes. If the themes are concerning to you, absolutely take some time to get them to talk to a counselor. And if you can find a counselor that uses play, awesome. Because if that's something that they're already doing, it's nice to have that extra support with a counselor there. And as I always talk about, grief and mourning is not linear. So this panic and disorganization is not just going to be a one-time deal. It's not just a phase that you hit and then you pass through. It's going to happen randomly throughout the process. 1 minute, one afternoon, the kid could be super fine. Seems like everything's great. And then the next minute, they just can't even get it together. They lost their soccer shoes and they didn't bring the snack. And they can't remember what field they're going to be at. Sometimes they can't even remember what their team is or what their coach is called. Like, they're just, what is wrong with you? It's like, It's not what's wrong with you. It's like, I know what's going on. And so take some time to breathe and to be with them. Okay, so that is disorganization and panic. And I don't think that my comments are showing up. I'm going to actually type a comment in and see if it comes out. Oh, I see myself, but that's it. Okay, anyway, so we'll carry on. So the next dimension is dimension 5. So we have explosive emotions. This one's also hard to deal with. So disorganization and panic is hard to deal with because also because we have mirror neurons. So if we see somebody that's disorganized and panicked, then often we will. So, which also reminds me of, well, this is a fun day today. With the Zoom thing and when you're talking on the computer, we're used to not seeing ourselves and responding to other people, but now we're seeing ourselves. So if we're starting to get like triggered or like agitated or anything, that can ramp ourselves up and it can be really stressful. So back to the kids. When we see our children getting ramped up and disorganized and panicked, or with these explosive emotions, which I'm about to talk to, it can help, like we have mirror neurons, which are going to help us feel that as well. Thankfully, we have better developed brains, and with knowledge and practice, we can learn to detach ourselves from that a little bit and learn these skills to help support our little ones, because our brains are designed to help them learn things. They aren't born into it inherently. We weren't born into it inherently. And some of us don't even have the skills that we would like to have because we weren't taught them. Thankfully, we can teach ourselves and we can learn, and human beings, we're pretty resilient. So if you find you're like reacting a little bit too much, that's okay. Take a moment, take care of yourself. Always be kind to yourself. You don't need to berate yourself. Please be kind. Okay, that was a side note. Let's go back to explosive emotions. What are explosive emotions? I probably don't need to tell you, but they are anger, hate, blame, terror, resentment, rage, and jealousy. I'm sure we could come up with a whole bunch more. Okay, let's see. Children want to make things normal. and they want things to go their own way. So they've learned, and we know, that these big, powerful emotions can sometimes change situations and make things happen for us the way we want. So, like, if you're little and you're in a grocery store and you throw a fit because you want a candy bar, you might just get the candy bar. So, if you're missing somebody that you love so deeply and you want them to come back and you want your life to get normal, you're actually going to express that explosively. Their feelings are saying, this is wrong. This situation is not something that's supposed to happen. It's not working. It's a signal to them that the life is not what it's supposed to be. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to deal with. The big, explosive feelings. They often think, if that person loved me enough, they wouldn't have died. But they did die. So that means they didn't love me enough. And if that person didn't love me enough, maybe no one can love me enough. And that's scary. That is so, so scary. It's big. So if your child is exhibiting anger and saying things like, I hate you, this is the worst thing, I hate my life, all of this stuff sucks, they're blaming you, they're freaking out over everything, they're scared of things, they're having night terrors, they may be jealous of other people who they think may have had more time with the loved one, they will just have rages, they may be extremely resentful. There's so many big things can happen. They will often rage at anyone that's close to them because it's a test. If you can't love me when I'm angry and mean and yucky, then you're just going to go away. So let's just get it over with now. If they love anyone too much, that person may die too and may leave them and cause all of this pain. And also, they may use these explosive emotions just to keep people away from them. Because if people aren't close to them, they're not going to have to worry about being in a relationship with them and worry about them dying. It's a really, really hard place to be. So what can we do to help? Well, we can let them have their emotions. And as we support them with their emotions and they realize that these emotions are not going to make this person come back, they should soften. We need to encourage healthy expression of them. So when they're raging and they're angry, try to tolerate it. Try to encourage that expression. I understand you're mad. Of course you're angry. I bet you feel like you hate me right now. I still love you, and it's okay to be mad. I get it. Encourage them. Let them get it out and validate those feelings. Feelings, they come and they go. They're like thoughts. They just come through us. They're a signal about what's going on in our life. They aren't a permanent situation. So please don't judge the feelings. Don't retaliate. Don't say, oh, well, I hate you too, you little stinker. Don't do those things. It may feel like you really are being stabbed by this little one. But those feelings are just feelings, and they'll go away, and they aren't the root feeling. The root feelings are like loss and pain and helplessness and frustration, hurt, all of those so fragile feelings. I often hear that anger is sad's bodyguard, and it's true. Anger feels powerful. It feels like you're doing something. It feels strong. You see lots of anger played out in superheroes and all of those kind of stories, and they're always strong and powerful. And if you watch them, the root is always pain and sadness and rejection and loneliness and all those sad things. So try to remember where this is coming from, and remember this little being doesn't hate you. They're just really scared and lost and afraid. You can provide alternative outlets. So if it's like a violent, explosive thing, I talk to people about setting up a corner where they can have pillows and stuff to punch, or a section in the backyard if it's warm enough out where you can throw water balloons at a fence, or get milk jugs or juice jugs or whatever and like put the lid on so they can stomp on them and that lid can pop right off. Find some like physical expressions. You can teach them to shadow box, and some pillow fights with really soft pillows. I'm not like super awesome fan of pillow fights, but that's just me. You can do painting and writing, and you can tell them, paint. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Let's not paint within the lines. Let's paint what we're feeling. Use the colors and just really express all of that kind of stuff. I also find music and dancing, lots of movement can help. Just give them lots of ways to express that. And look at what their natural feelings are and their natural ways of expressing those kind of explosive emotions. In my counseling room, I've liked to use puppets a lot. Puppets get into a lot of fights, and there's a lot of puppets eating each other. It's very interesting, but it's just a way of getting through those explosive emotions. They're so big, and they need to be moved out. Okay, so we are on to Dimension 6. Another favorite. This one is acting out. Oh. So, this will express itself in different ways depending on different ages. I'm really enjoying this child series, so I might actually end up doing the grief in specificness to the ages, like how they act out and express. Anyway, acting out. So, kids, when they're acting out, they can be loud and noisy. So they're just making noises all the time and interrupting people's peace and quiet. They might fight with you, argue about everything. You're just wrong. So that's the way it is. They might fight with other children. Everybody else is wrong. I think that's part of the panic and disorganization. They're just trying to keep people away from them. They're just, everything is cruddy. Nothing works. Everyone is wrong. They might defy authority. So they might not like their teacher anymore. They might not like their coach. Everyone is stupid. Nobody cares. Rebelling against everything. This you might see a little bit more often with the teenagers. Same with the defying of the authorities. They just don't believe anybody anymore because the person they believe the most is gone, left them, abandoned them. So what's actually right and what's actually wrong? Who can they believe? Who can they trust? It's a very, very important thing to realize, is that these things are acting out behaviors and they're related to grief. I don't care. That's an attachment situation. When something you're really attached to is suddenly ripped away from you, you don't want to be attached to anything. You don't want to be attached to stuff. You don't want to be attached to ideas. You don't want to be attached to people. Don't want to be attached. Because guess what? If you're attached and it gets taken away, it hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. And older children may try to run away. Again, don't want to be attached. It's the ultimate disattachment. No engagement. Just go out and be on your own. I can take care of myself. I don't need anybody or anything or anyone. Because to lose that is painful. Oh, so painful. So, what are the unconscious processes that create this? So, the first one is feeling of insecurity. So, the stabilizing influencer died. And having temper feels powerful. So even if the stabling influencer is far away and not really in that child's life, but that child has an idea of who they are or what they are, and they pass away, it destabilizes them. Because they were always hoping that that relationship would be something more than it is. There was always that hope that that person was going to be the one that filled in all of the blanks that they have in their life. And losing that, even if it was an unstable person in their life and not a healthy relationship, can really create some feelings of insecurity. Feelings of abandonment. So they feel unloved. Their self-esteem goes down. Nobody loves me. The person that I loved the most in the world is gone. Or the person that I think loved me the most in the world is gone. And kids are going to take that personally. They are. We can try to explain it, but they will take it personally. I know adults that take it personally. It's in us to try to control the world by it being about us. Because really, your relationships are about you. So it's very difficult, that feeling of abandonment. And then there's another one that's a little bit more tricky. The acting out is a desire to be punished. But because kids often feel like they really affect the world a lot, they may think they were so bad and they didn't get punished for something that they did was so bad that somebody they loved died. And that is a big thing to carry. So they may feel like if they start acting out and they start getting punished, then people around them won't die. They will be the ones that are punished, not the people that are around them. That's a huge thing. And it's not conscious. It's just something to be aware of and to try to figure out, is this one of the reasons why this child is acting out? This often happens if the family disciplinarian dies, because they miss that structure of knowing who was going to help keep them in line. I know it sounds a little strange, but it's true. Another reason why they act out is protection from future losses. I think I've touched on this a little bit before. If I am being somebody you don't want to be around and I'm not listening to you and you decide to not be around me, that protects me from caring about you and caring about what you think, and it protects me from eventually losing you, because that suddenly has become a reality to me, that I can lose people that I love and care about. So I'm just going to be so unapproachable, so against all of society, completely against all of your beliefs, so that I'm not going to lose you. That's a big thing. It's a protection. And another thing with the explosive emotions is actually demonstrating the grief feelings that are inside and expressing them. So sometimes that's all it is. It's expressing those feelings. Actually, a lot of times that's what it is. So as the big people in these little people or young people's lives, because sometimes teenagers can be bigger than us, we need to figure out how to help them. And the first one is to understand what their needs are. These acting out behaviors are a huge cry for help, and they are so frustrating. So frustrating. But they are a cry for affection, so that they know that they are cared about, no matter how horrible they're being, and security. Their security has been ripped away. So if I'm super bad and I'm acting out and I run away, are you going to come get me? Do you even care? Because that's really important to them. It's important to everyone. Everyone wants affection and security. So how do we give them affection and security? We create limits and we discipline. And I'm not talking angry, violent kind of discipline. I'm talking about gentle, kind, and loving. You run away, I'm going to get you. There's a story about that. Oh my goodness, it should be right at the top of my head. But it's the one about the baby rabbit, and she's mad at mom and says, if I go to the top of the mountain, what are you going to do? And the mom's like, I'm going to become a mountain climber. I'm going to come get you. And that's the kind of expression that happens with this, is wherever you go, I'm going to come get you. Whatever you do, I am there for you. You can be as mad at me as you want. I'm still going to love you. I don't love the behavior you're doing, but you're not a bad kid. You don't deserve to be in pain. I know you're in pain, and I love you. I love you when you're mad at me. I love you when you don't want to believe the things that I believe. I just love you. So we're setting limits without anger and without violence. Guess what? I've talked about self-care before too. This means you need a lot of self-care. And if you don't have anybody to talk about these frustrating things with, I suggest finding a counselor or finding an online support group that is loving and kind and supportive and really taking care of yourself while you have these acting out behaviors. And finally, realize that your adult discipline that you're giving these children, the limits, the boundaries, all of those wonderful things, they will eventually internalize and they will grow up to have themselves. So as difficult as this is, it's really important. Adult discipline leads to self-discipline. And wouldn't it be nice if we all self-disciplined ourselves with kindness and with love and compassion and understanding, instead of violently beating on ourselves emotionally, physically, being angry at ourselves, calling ourselves stupid. We don't want that. We don't want that for them. We don't want that for us. So, those were some really big dimensions today. If you made comments, they're not showing up on my video. I'm super sorry. The whole purpose of lives is so that I can chat with you. But I will go on after I click off and I will comment. And if you made comments, I am very grateful. Thank you so much. Again, please, you can instant message me. You can email me. You can get a hold of me through www.fcss.ca. You can get counseling help there. You can get some parenting support. We have support for seniors. We have support for everybody. It's a really amazing service that we have in Southern Alberta, and it's free. Ooh, gotta love free. Yes, so that was 3 very difficult dimensions of childhood grief. And next week we will embark upon 3 more. So thank you so much for listening. And please, 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 please take care of you. Please. And if you see any of these things in yourself, like even when I'm talking about them, it like ticks in my head. Probably once in a while you see me stop and I was like, oh, I just had a personal insight there. Just breathe through it and acknowledge it as a gift of learning. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.